Vanquish, God Hard, max time bonus, 0 death walkthrough. This is 2-2 and it's called Rapids. This is one of the only missions on this entire sequence that I did, I think it was on the second attempt. I'm calling it first attempt because I had to restart, because when I started recording the first attempt, I didn't have volume in the game and I didn't realise, because I was listening to my iPod at the time. So when I got to the end, I was like, oh yes, I'm a beast, I did it, and then I realised that they didn't have any audio, so alas, I had to do it again. But this is one of those missions where if you can survive it, you can get the time limit. There doesn't seem to be too much need to being too quick, but at the same time, I don't recommend that you dilly-dally, because the moment I say this, it'll fuck up for you. So, at the beginning, it couldn't be more simple. Use the turret to get rid of the flying enemies, get rid of the carrier. The troop carriers will be destroyed instantly if you kill their pilots, and that's the way you always want to do that. There are two tricky parts to this. The second sequence enables us to fight against a bunch of other dudes on another platform, and because of the inertia of the movement and the craziness, and your aim is going to be affected, so it makes shooting a little bit more tricky. If you play this sequence on mouse and keyboard, it's completely broken. You will have no problems aiming whatsoever. It's kind of amazing. But on controllers, you're definitely going to be fighting the movement of the platforms. You're going to be fighting everything. And it makes it a little bit taxing, but use your ARS, keep on top of it, and you should be good. The second part is surviving at the end, because surviving at the end, you're going to get bombarded by a bunch of enemies, and the strategy there is essentially just to kind of use iframes, go in and out of cover, roll around a lot, and just try and wait till the cutscene triggers. But you can die really fast on God Hard, and especially if you're using the damage glitch version of the game, where the bullets do a ridiculous amount of damage now. And they still do on normal versions. If you go on consoles, it's still really high damage, but it ain't the same as what it was when this game was first released. And the unskippable cutscene there, lovely. You might be wondering why I haven't trimmed out some sequences like this. Well, it's simply just for the credibility of the video. These are single segment runs that you're watching. There is no editing in this at all. It is start to finish me winning, and because the entire run is dependent on you seeing everything and seeing the time at the end, there would be no point in me trimming a load of stuff in the video. It's not that I don't want to do it, guys, because it's one of those things I do a lot in videos. It's just, I think for a project such as this, it benefits it better to keep it as one cohesive piece, even if there are a few things that trigger me a little. But immediately get behind this crate, and then proceed to use both your assault rifle and your heavy machine gun. At this range, the assault rifle is really good. The problem is, of course, your aim. If any of your team go down, make sure to heal them so you can get a drop. You could potentially get a rocket here or a lock-on laser, and it would make this a little bit easier. And then you can proceed to use the heavy machine gun's melees to get some shots across there if you want to, but stay near this box if you can, and do not overheat like I did just then. One of the things with this game is you'll come to a point where you should never really overheat once you get good at the timings of things, but it still happens every so often when we get greedy, and it's one of those things that I definitely need to clean up on my gameplay. But I don't blame myself too much here, because when I'm playing and I'm timed, I'm not playing the same as I normally would. I don't relax into it the same way. I'm rushing, and in a lot of ways I'm not necessarily nervous, but there's definitely a palpable tension to the way I'm playing, and sometimes it can pay off, it can lead to good things, but at other times it's a bit frenetic, it's forced, and any kind of forced gameplay is not going to be your best, I don't think. But that's what you've kind of got to do when you're going for these time limits. You've got to keep pushing yourself to move as quick as you can and to kill people faster, and every time you don't get that shot, every time something misses, you feel like you're bleeding seconds, and they're the seconds that you need to win. But after you've killed the standard Gorgies, the Romanov G will turn up, and then it'll be the end of this particular sequence, I think. And then we're going to be moving into the next area. Or is there another transport? So Burns tells us it's clear. I'm going to go between the covers. I think on this particular transport, all there is heavy machine guns, and there might be a sniper or something, but aside from that, there's not much. If you look at the map, you'll notice that there are no enemies anywhere. Because a lot of the times when you're in these moments, you think to yourself, have I not killed somebody? Is somebody still alive? But that map tells you almost everything you need to know. So use it, guys. It's really helpful. But I put the sniper on so I can do some sniper cancels, because it's fun. But there's not really... I mean, right now, this is a moment where I was probably getting a little pissed on my first run, because we're all being timed. Right now, you're being timed, and the game is just doing what the game does. And I must have done that previous section a little bit faster than normal, and there is no trigger to skip to this part. So it has to run the same course every time. and I think that's why the time limit's more flexible on this particular level than it is on some of the others. But this gets a bit tricky now. There's going to be 2 carriers coming in here, and you want to use ARS to shoot the pilots as quick as possible, as I aim at Burns, and it does a little chat. After the 2 carriers are dead, we're going to be shooting some Gorgies to my left, and a couple of those crazy Strider machines, and then after that is when it goes to hell, and all I'm going to do is be evasive as possible, do the boost cancelling, the boost dodging, go in and out of cover if you want to. Going in and out of cover gives you a tremendous amount of iframes, and if you don't know what boost dodging is essentially marrying 2 moves that give you iframes and putting them together to extend your iframes. So if you tap boost, you'll notice that Sam will go into a slide and then he'll flip out of it. Well, if you press dodge during that animation, you can cancel the boost into a dodge, getting more iframes. And I overheated, which is really bad. So the other guy is above me right now. This is kind of scary. Don't do this, guys. Make sure you make that shot. I drop an EMP just to kind of protect myself because it was a really bad piece of play from me. And then I proceed to take out the Romanov instantly by destroying his tank, because the flamethrower Romanovs are really easy to kill if you blow them up like that. And now the map populates the next wave of enemies. So there's going to be a lot of standard reds, so take them out as quick as possible. There's going to be a couple of these Striders who... They can be tricky to shoot from certain perspectives, but you can shoot his gun. And shooting his gun will injure him for some reason. I think you must clip his hand or something like that. But the cover here is not the best when it comes to aiming to the left. One of my only criticisms of this game is that you cannot toggle shoulders outside of cover, I don't believe. So you have to go into cover if you want to shoot on the left-hand side. And that means that you are never ever in a position of power shooting from the left-hand side. The only real good way of doing it is to literally put Sam as close to the middle of the box as possible, so you're only just peeking out ever so slightly, and even then it's not as safe as using the cover trick. But these Striders, you can either shoot the pilot or you can shoot them in the cock. Where their gun is right there, they do take damage. An easy way to know where an enemy is vulnerable is if your crosshair goes red. It is literally the universal language of video games for you will deal damage. But keep on killing these dudes. Once you get rid of the guys on the right, the guys on the left fall very quickly. And then here comes the crazy section. So remember, guys, rolling like this will give you iframes. Going into cover and coming out of it will give you iframes too, if you want to try that. Just kind of be as evasive as possible. Roll around. You don't have to roll into one direction like I'm doing. You can roll to like boost to one direction, roll to the other. There's all kinds of fancy ways of staying alive. And then I get hit a few times. I go in cover. I'm shitting my pants, I do a cigarette just there, which you could probably do a cigarette if you want to help in that section, and then I get the checkpoint and it's all good. But if you die just then, it's 100% up to the game, because it's one of those sequences where there doesn't seem to be a 100% safe strategy other than pour iframes and hope the enemies let you live. And me as a player, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like it at all. I don't like that section. I think it's just unnecessary. But now we're back in this different piece of transportation, and we have this really interesting mechanic, which the game, like it does a few different mechanics later on, kind of just uses it once, very quickly, and we never see it again. So, the premise is simple. If you aim your weapon, those turrets on this machine will shoot where your weapon is aimed. You don't even have to shoot yourself if you don't want to. I've only really found, I think, one trick with this, which is, if you reload, and you hold fire while you reload, those turrets will shoot at the same thing that you're aiming at, but you won't be out of cover, so you're completely safe while you do it. And I'm not too sure if that's just a trick, or if the game does that anyway, but I found myself noticing it, so I wanted to say it just in case anybody's not aware of it, and you can experiment with it yourself to try and, you know, get some cheeky damage while you're safe. But this is all pretty simple because you have a lot of firepower now. The one thing you need to bear in mind, though, is this is God Hard. On God Hard difficulty, the enemies are the most merciless that they can be, they do the most damage, they have, I think, higher HP thresholds. You cannot upgrade your weapons, which is another thing that a couple of people don't seem to be aware of because they must not have tried the difficulty. But if you've never played this game before, normally, if you pick up a weapon that you have, I think, maxed ammo for, you'll upgrade it, and it'll become more damaging, it'll have a higher clip, it'll, you know, maybe fire faster. It's been a long time since I've played this game with upgrades, it's not even funny. But it gives it some kind of upgrade. And there are also these green cubes that drop that are literally just upgrade resources as well. And you're going to see me do the trick, I think, coming up here, if you watch out for the turrets to shoot while I'm still in cover. Yeah, you see it there? I think that was the time when I noticed that it happened. Notice how they're not shooting now, but they were shooting before when I was reloading. It's definitely a trick that, so use it. It's pretty good. But they're all dead, and we're nearly close to the end of the mission. But on this difficulty, the upgrades don't exist, so a lot of those resources and the damage that you can do, and your output and your capacity, it's not something that applies to this difficulty at all. And it's one of the reasons why it is so very difficult, because you do not kill things as fast. They kill you as fast as ever, and surviving is not easy. But we got 10 minutes and 26 seconds for that, 0 deaths, and it was still 5,000 points, so I was very happy with that, because I don't like these auto-scroller levels. I don't like any level where I have to stand around waiting for the game to complete an action. I want to be the driving force. I want my agency to be what matters, not the scripting. But thank you for watching. You take care now.